The static crackled across the quantum communication array, making Dr. Sarah Chen's skin crawl. After 15 years of studying alien civilizations, she had learned to trust her instincts. Something was wrong with New Haven Colony. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Command. New Haven, please respond." Her voice remained steady, professional, despite the growing knot in her stomach. The colony of 50,000 souls had missed 3 scheduled check-ins. The response, when it finally came, chilled her to the bone. They're not like anything we've seen before." Governor Richard's voice trembled. In the background, alarms wailed. "The ships just appeared. Black as void. No energy signatures. Our sensors couldn't detect them until..." An explosion rocked the transmission. "Dr. Chen, if you're receiving this, tell Earth. Tell them we never stood a chance." The quantum array went dead. Sarah's fingers flew across the holographic interface, attempting to re-establish contact. Nothing. New Haven had gone dark, just like Proxima Beta 3 months ago, and Aurora Station before that. This wasn't a coincidence. In her 15 years at Earth Defense Command, Sarah had cataloged hundreds of alien artifacts, decoded dozens of extinct civilizations' warnings, but nothing had prepared her for this. She pulled up the data from the previous colony attacks, her augmented reality display filling the air around her with glowing symbols and patterns. "Computer, overlay temporal data from all 3 attacks." The holographic display shifted, timelines merging. Sarah's eyes widened. There it is. Each attack had occurred precisely 72 hours after a specific gravitational anomaly in the sector. The same anomaly that her instruments had detected near Mars 12 hours ago. Sarah slammed her hand on the emergency broadcast button. "This is Dr. Chen. Priority Alpha. Mars Defense Command, do you copy?" She took a shaky breath. "You have less than 60 hours. They're coming." Her warning echoed through space, racing against time while somewhere in the darkness, ancient engines hummed with terrible purpose. Humanity had grown complacent in its expansion across the stars, believing itself alone in this sector of space. They were wrong. In her office at Luna Base, Sarah began compiling everything she knew about these attacks. The holographic displays showed a terrifying pattern. Each colony had been more populous than the last. New Haven had been the largest, with 50,000 colonists. Mars Colony held over 2 million souls. "Dr. Chen." Her assistant's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Admiral Torres is requesting an immediate briefing." Sarah nodded, gathering her data. James Torres was a legend in the Earth Defense Force, known for his unconventional strategies and unwavering dedication to protecting human life. If anyone could help her convince the Defense Council of the imminent threat, it was him. The briefing room was already full when she arrived. Admiral Torres stood at the window, his weathered face reflecting off the reinforced glass as he stared at the Earth hanging in the black sky. Council members murmured among themselves, their faces drawn with concern. "Dr. Chen." Torres turned to face her, his dark eyes intense. "Tell me why I should believe that an unknown alien force is about to attack our largest off-world colony." Sarah projected her findings into the center of the room. "These attacks follow a pattern, Admiral. The gravitational anomalies, the increasing scale of targets, the complete communication blackouts. But there's something else." She highlighted a series of energy readings. Each attack left trace quantum signatures that match ancient warnings we found in alien ruins, warnings about something called the Nexus Collective. The room fell silent. Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. "The ruins speak of a force that doesn't conquer or negotiate. They simply harvest. Entire civilizations gone without a trace. And now they've reached our corner of space." Admiral Torres studied the data, his expression grim. "How certain are you about the Mars timeline?" 58 hours, 17 minutes, Sarah replied without hesitation. "And Mars colony's defenses, as advanced as they are, won't be enough. We need to evacuate." Torres straightened, his decision made. "You're asking me to authorize the largest evacuation in human history based on archaeological evidence and gravitational anomalies." He paused, then smiled grimly. "Good thing I've learned to trust science over skepticism. Council members, I am declaring a Level 1 emergency. Begin immediate evacuation procedures for Mars colony." As the council chamber erupted in activity, Sarah felt a mix of relief and dread. They were finally acting, but would it be enough? The Nexus Collective had already proven they could appear without warning, strike without mercy. In the chaos of the emergency declaration, Admiral Torres pulled her aside. "Dr. Chen, I need you to do something else. These ruins you've studied, is there anything in them about fighting back? About any weaknesses this collective might have?" Sarah's mind raced through years of research. There might be. The ruins on Titan. They're older than any we've studied, but we've never been able to access their deeper chambers. With emergency authorization, I cooled. "Go," Torres interrupted. "Take whatever resources you need. While we evacuate Mars, you find us a way to fight back." He turned to stare at the Earth again, his voice hardening. "Because if these things are as powerful as you say, Mars is just the beginning. And humanity won't go quietly into the night." As Sarah rushed to prepare for her mission to Titan, emergency alarms began blaring throughout Luna Base. The evacuation of Mars had begun, a race against time and an enemy they barely understood. But for the first time since detecting the anomaly, she felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before. Each time, they had survived through innovation, determination, and the unwavering will to protect their own. The Nexus Collective was about to learn what so many others had discovered too late. Threatening humanity was easy. Surviving their response was something else entirely. The red dust storms of Mars swirled against the massive dome of New Armstrong City, humanity's greatest off-world achievement. Inside, chaos reigned. 2 million colonists scrambled to reach evacuation ships, their hopes resting on a warning that many still doubted. Admiral Torres watched the scenes unfold through the quantum feed, his command center aboard the EDF flagship Hyperion humming with activity. "Evacuation status," he demanded, eyes fixed on the streaming data. 37% complete, sir," Commander Rivera reported, her hands dancing across the holographic controls. "At current rates, we need another 30 hours to get everyone out." Torres grimaced. According to Dr. Chen's calculations, they had less than 20. The quantum comm crackled. "Admiral, this is Dr. Chen on Titan. We've managed to breach the inner chamber of the ruins. There's something here you need to see." Before she could continue, proximity alarms screamed across every channel. The gravitational sensors were going wild, their readings off the charts. Torres's blood ran cold. They were early. "Multiple spatial ruptures detected," Rivera shouted. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." The void above Mars tore open. Through the quantum feed, Torres watched as massive ships emerged, obsidian constructs that seemed to devour light itself. The Nexus Collective had arrived. All ships, battle stations. Torres's voice boomed through the fleet. "Defensive formation Delta. Priority is evacuation coverage. Get those people out." The Earth Defense Fleet responded immediately, 150 ships moving into position around Mars. They were humanity's finest vessels, armed with the most advanced weapons Earth could produce. Against the darkness emerging from the spatial tiers, they looked impossibly small. The first attack came without warning. No demands, no ultimatum. A beam of impossible darkness lanced from the Lid Collective ship, cutting through 3 EDF cruisers as if they were paper. The ships didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, along with their crews. "My God," someone whispered on the bridge. Torres's jaw clenched. "Launch all fighters. Concentrated fire on their Lid vessel. Show them humanity won't go down without a fight." The space around Mars erupted in battle. Earth's ships fought with everything they had, their energy weapons and quantum torpedoes splashing against the dark hulls of the collective ships. But for every hit they landed, the aliens responded with devastating precision. On the surface, the evacuation continued in panic. Through the chaos, a young colonial officer named Maya Rodriguez organized her people, leading them through the underground tunnels toward the waiting ships. She refused to let fear overcome duty. "Keep moving," she shouted, helping an elderly man who had stumbled. "The ships are just ahead. We're getting everyone out." Above, the battle grew more desperate. Torres watched as another collective beam swept through his fleet, taking 5 more ships. But the sacrifice bought time. Precious minutes for more evacuation ships to break atmosphere. "Sir," Rivera's voice was tight. "Dr. Chen is still transmitting from Titan." Torres nodded. "Put her through." "Admiral." Chen's voice was filled with excitement despite the chaos. "The ruins, they're not just warnings. They're instructions. The collective, they're not invincible. Their ships, their weapons, they're all connected to a quantum network. If we could disrupt it." A massive explosion rocked the Hyperion. "We're a little busy right now, Doctor," Torres growled, watching as another evacuation ship successfully broke orbit. "Listen to me. The civilizations they destroyed, they were all isolated, fighting alone. But humanity, we're different. Our quantum communication network, it's similar to theirs, but more adaptable. If we could modify it, turn it against them." Torres's mind raced with the implications. How long? "Give me 2 hours." "But Admiral, it would take more power than we've ever generated. Every reactor, every ship, all working in perfect sync." Another collective beam sliced through space, vaporizing an entire squadron of fighters. Torres made his decision. All ships, fall back to secondary positions. Protect those evacuation routes at all costs. He turned to Rivera. "Get me Earth Command. Tell them to start spinning up every reactor we have. And find me someone from Project Prometheus." Rivera's eyes widened. "Sir, Project Prometheus is theoretical. The power requirements alone are exactly what we need." Torres's eyes hardened as he watched another evacuation ship escape. "They think they can just harvest us like all the others. Time to show them humanity's greatest weapon, our ability to adapt." The battle raged on. The collective's attacks grew more intense, but humanity's ships fought with increasingly desperate courage. Every destroyed vessel, every lost crew, bought time for more civilians to escape. Maya Rodriguez led the last group of colonists through the tunnels, refusing to leave anyone behind. On Titan, Sarah Chen worked frantically, translating the ancient instructions as fast as she could. The ruins held the key, not just to survival, but to fighting back. Humanity had one chance, and it would take everything they had. Torres watched the evacuation numbers tick up. 70%. 75. The cost in ships and lives was staggering, but they were getting their people out. And if Chen was right, if Project Prometheus could be modified. "Sir," Rivera called out, "new contacts approaching Mars. The collective is bringing in reinforcements." Torres smiled grimly. "Good. Let them come. Let them commit everything they have." He opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Admiral Torres. Begin Protocol Omega. And someone get me everything we have on quantum network modification. We're about to show these harvesters that humanity isn't just another civilization to add to their collection." As the battle entered its 6th hour, the seeds of humanity's counterattack were being planted. The Nexus Collective had never faced a species that could turn their own quantum network against them. They had never faced humanity. The depths of Titan's ancient ruins pulsed with an eerie blue light. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in a chamber that had remained sealed for millions of years, her breath fogging inside her helmet as she studied the crystalline archives surrounding her. The walls themselves were data storage devices, holding the accumulated knowledge of a civilization that had faced the Nexus Collective and found a way to hurt them. "This is incredible," she whispered, her quantum scanner translating the complex patterns. They didn't just fight the collective. They almost won. Her team worked frantically around her, setting up equipment to download and analyze the vast database. Time was precious. The battle for Mars still raged, though the evacuation was nearly complete. Every minute brought more reports of Earth ships lost to the collective's devastating weapons. Dr. Chen called out Dr. Patel, her chief engineer. "We've found something. These crystals, they're not just data storage, they're quantum resonators." Sarah rushed over, her eyes widening as she studied the readings. "They're still active. After all this time." Her mind raced with possibilities. This is how they did it. They didn't just study the collective's network. They found a way to mirror it, amplify it, turn it back on itself. Back on Earth, humanity was preparing for what could be its last stand. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility known only as the Forge, Admiral Torres stood before the combined leaders of Earth's nations. The holographic displays showed the ongoing evacuation of Mars, now 90% complete, but at a terrible cost. Half the Earth defense fleet was gone. Project Prometheus was designed to create a quantum communication network that could span the entire solar system. Torres explained, gesturing to the massive power core humming beneath them. "But thanks to Dr. Chen's discoveries, we can modify it into something else entirely, a weapon." The room erupted in questions and concerns. Torres raised his hand for silence. "The collective's power comes from their quantum network. Every ship, every weapon, connected in perfect harmony. But that connection is also a vulnerability. If we can match their quantum frequency and amplify it through our own network," he smiled grimly, "we can turn their greatest strength into a fatal weakness." On Titan, Sarah's team had made another breakthrough. The crystalline archives didn't just contain technical data. They held tactical information about the collective itself. "They're not just hunters," Sarah explained over the quantum comm to Torres. "They're collectors. Every civilization they harvest, they add its unique qualities to their network. But there's a limit to how much they can absorb at once. If we hit them with enough quantum feedback, we can overload their entire system," Torres finished. "But the power requirements will be massive," Sarah agreed. "We'll need every reactor on Earth, plus..." She hesitated. "Plus what, Doctor?" "The Mars reactors. The ones we evacuated. They're still there, still operational. If we can restart them remotely, link them to Project Prometheus." Torres understood immediately. "We'd have enough power. But someone would have to go back. Someone would have to manually synchronize the reactors." In the command center of the Hyperion, now relegated to coordinating the remaining evacuation ships, Commander Rivera listened to the exchange. She thought of her family on Earth, of everything humanity stood to lose. "I'll do it," she said, stepping forward. "I know the Mars systems better than anyone." Torres started to object, but the look in her eyes stopped him. This was what humanity did. Stepped forward when everything seemed hopeless, refused to back down even in the face of impossible odds. On Earth, Project Prometheus roared to life. Every power station, every reactor began channeling energy into the quantum network. The crystalline technology from Titan was integrated into the system, its ancient resonators amplifying the power beyond anything humanity had achieved before. The collective, having finished their harvest of Mars' surface, began moving their ships toward Earth. Their dark vessels filled space, a seemingly invincible armada preparing to claim another civilization. Commander Rivera's shuttle slipped through the debris field around Mars, using the chaos of destroyed ships as cover. The surface of the red planet was scared by the collective's weapons, but deep underground, the colonial reactors waited. If she could reach them, restart them, synchronize them with Project Prometheus. In the Titan ruins, Sarah made one final discovery. The civilization that built these archives, she reported to Torres, her voice filled with awe. They weren't destroyed by the collective. They sacrificed themselves to weaken them. Their final attack damaged the collective's network, forced them into hibernation for millions of years. She paused. That's why they're here now. They're still recovering, still vulnerable. Torres absorbed this information, watching as Earth's defenses prepared for the coming battle. Humanity had one chance, not just to survive, but to do what no other civilization had managed: stop the collective permanently. How much longer until Rivera reaches the reactors? He asked. 20 minutes, came the response. The collective will reach Earth in 30. Torres nodded. Everything would come down to timing, to courage, to the unbreakable human spirit that had taken them to the stars in the first place. Send word to every ship, every station. Stand ready. When those reactors come online, we're going to show the collective why you should never underestimate humanity. As the final pieces fell into place, as humanity prepared its desperate counterstrike, the words of an ancient warning echoed through the crystalline archives. They harvest worlds, but they have never faced a species willing to sacrifice everything to stop them. Until now. Commander Rivera's boots echoed through the empty corridors of Mars Colony's main reactor facility. Emergency lights cast red shadows across abandoned control stations and empty halls. Above ground, the collective's harvest had left nothing but destruction. But down here, humanity's power still hummed. I've reached the primary control room, she reported, her voice steady despite the oppressive silence. Beginning reactor restart sequence. On Earth, Admiral Torres watched as the collective armada approached. Their black ships blotted out the stars, an unstoppable force that had consumed countless civilizations. But humanity wasn't like the others. They had Dr. Chen's discoveries, Project Prometheus, and most importantly, they had something the collective had never encountered: the absolute refusal to submit. All stations report ready, his tactical officer announced. Project Prometheus is at full power, waiting on Mars reactors. In the Titan ruins, Sarah Chen made final adjustments to the ancient crystalline resonators. Her team had integrated them into Earth's quantum network, creating a weapon unlike anything in human history. The frequency modulators are aligned, she reported. Once the Mars reactors come online, we'll have one chance. The feedback loop has to be perfect. The collective ships entered lunar orbit, their weapons charging. They had encountered no resistance, no desperate last stand. To them, it must have seemed like surrender. They were wrong. Mars reactors at 30%. Rivera's voice crackled through the quantum comm. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she worked, manually overriding safety protocols. 40%. 50%. Enemy ships launching harvest beams, Tactical reported. The dark energy that had consumed Mars now reached for Earth. Torres straightened in his command chair. Not this time, he growled. Not our world. Mars reactors at 70%, Rivera called. Warning lights flashed around her as the reactors pushed beyond their limits. 80. 90. The first harvest beam touched Earth's atmosphere, but instead of finding helpless prey, it encountered something else. A quantum field unlike anything the collective had seen before. Project Prometheus had created a web of energy around the planet, reinforced by the ancient technology from Titan. Mars reactors at full power. Rivera's triumphant shout echoed through the command network. Synchronization complete. Torres's voice rang with authority. Execute Operation Starburst. Now. Sarah Chen activated the crystalline resonators. Project Prometheus surged with power from every reactor on Earth and Mars combined. The quantum network that humanity had built for communication became something else, a mirror reflecting the collective's own network back at them, amplified 1,000-fold. The effect was instantaneous. The harvest beams faltered. The black ships shuddered. For the first time in their ancient history, the Nexus Collective felt pain. It's working. Sarah's voice was filled with excitement. Their network is destabilizing. The feedback loop is. She never finished the sentence. The collective, realizing the danger, launched a desperate counterattack. Their weapons turned from Earth to the source of their pain, Mars. Multiple energy signatures targeting the reactor facility, Tactical warned. "Commander Rivera, get out of there." In the control room, Rivera saw the warning lights. She had time to escape, to save herself. Instead, she moved deeper into the facility, manually adjusting the reactors to maintain the power flow. "Negative," she responded. "If these reactors lose synchronization, we lose our chance. I'm staying." The first blast hit the facility. The ground shook, but Rivera held her position. Reactor synchronization holding. Power output at maximum. Above Earth, the battle reached its crescendo. The collective ships writhed in space, their perfect network corrupted by humanity's reflected power. Some began to break apart, their atomic bonds disrupted by the quantum feedback. Others tried to retreat, only to find their spatial drives malfunctioning. This is what you get. Torres broadcast on all frequencies, knowing the collective would understand. For underestimating humanity, we're not just another civilization to harvest. We're the ones who fight back. The collective launched a final desperate attack on Mars. The reactor facility exploded in a massive fireball, taking Commander Rivera with it. But her sacrifice had served its purpose. The reactors had maintained power long enough. The quantum feedback reached critical levels. The crystalline resonators on Titan pulsed with blinding light as they channeled more power than their ancient creators had ever imagined. Project Prometheus became a storm of energy, targeting every collective ship simultaneously. In orbit around Earth, the invincible armada began to die. Ships that had harvested countless worlds were torn apart by their own corrupted network. The quantum bonds that held their technology together unraveled. The harvesters became the harvested. Multiple enemy ships breaking up, Tactical reported, their voice filled with awe. Collective network is collapsing. They're actually losing. In the ruins on Titan, Sarah Chen watched the data streams with tears in her eyes. "The ancient civilization that built these ruins," she said softly, "they didn't just give us a weapon. They gave us their courage. Their willingness to sacrifice everything to stop the collective. And we proved worthy of that gift." As the last collective ships disintegrated, their quantum network shattered beyond repair, Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the Hyperion. The cost had been enormous. Mars devastated, billions in damage, countless lives lost, including the heroic Commander Rivera. But humanity had done the impossible. They had beaten an enemy that had consumed entire civilizations. "Send word to all colonies, all outposts," he ordered. "The Nexus Collective is no more. Humanity stands victorious." He paused, looking at the Earth shining below. "And let the galaxy know. This is what happens when you threaten our worlds. We don't submit. We don't surrender. We fight back, and we win." 1 year after the destruction of the Nexus Collective, the red skies of Mars glowed with a new light. Construction drones swarmed across the planet's surface, rebuilding what was lost. In the center of New Armstrong City's Memorial Plaza, a holographic statue of Commander Rivera stood eternal, her sacrifice honored by the millions who now called Mars home again. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the statue, her research tablet clutched in her hands. The ruins on Titan had yielded more secrets in the past year than in all her previous studies combined. But today, she wasn't thinking about ancient civilizations or quantum technology. She was thinking about humanity. "You should be here to see this," she whispered to Rivera's image. "They're coming home." Above, ships descended through the Martian atmosphere. Colony vessels carrying families returning to rebuild their world. The Quantum Shield Network, originally designed to reflect the collective's power, now protected Mars from solar radiation, making terraforming possible decades ahead of schedule. Admiral Torres, his uniform now bearing the insignia of Fleet Admiral, watched the reconstruction from his new office in the orbital command station. The battle had changed humanity in profound ways. The nations of Earth, united by common threat and triumph, had remained allied. The Earth Defense Force had become the Solar Defense Force, its ships now equipped with technology derived from both Project Prometheus and the Titan ruins. "Admiral," his aide interrupted his thoughts. "The deep space probes are reporting in. You'll want to see this." The holographic display showed what humanity had suspected but couldn't confirm until now. The collective's influence had stretched across thousands of systems. Their destruction had left a power vacuum, but also something else. Survivors. "We're detecting quantum communications from at least 12 different civilizations," the aide reported. "They were all in various stages of being harvested. When we destroyed the collective's network, we freed them." Torres finished. He studied the data, his expression thoughtful. These civilizations were damaged, frightened, but alive thanks to humanity's victory. "Send word to the Council. It's time for first contact protocols." In the Titan ruins, now transformed into humanity's premier research facility, Sarah's team had made another breakthrough. The crystalline archives hadn't just contained weapons technology. They held star maps, cultural databases, the accumulated knowledge of countless civilizations the collective had tried to destroy. They were archivists as much as warriors, Sarah explained to the Council during an emergency session. They preserved what the collective tried to erase. And now, she gestured to the quantum network displays. "Now we can return that knowledge to its rightful owners." The Council chamber erupted in discussion. Humanity, barely recovered from its own battle, was now faced with a new challenge. Helping other civilizations rebuild. It would require resources, diplomacy, and most importantly, trust. Maya Rodriguez, the colonial officer who had helped evacuate Mars and now served as its governor, cast her vote first. "We know what it's like to face extinction," she said, her voice firm. "We know the cost of rebuilding. We have a responsibility to help." The decision was unanimous. Humanity would reach out to the survivors, share the technology and knowledge they had gained. The quantum network that had saved Earth would become a bridge between civilizations. On Mars, the first signs of new life appeared in the restored soil, plants engineered to thrive in the transformed environment. Children played in parks protected by quantum shields, their laughter a defiant echo of Maya's last moments on the old Mars. In orbit, the Solar Defense Force's newest ships prepared for their first diplomatic mission. Their hulls bore a new insignia, a phoenix rising from Earth, surrounded by stars. They carried not just warriors and diplomats, but teachers, engineers, and healers. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the flagship Hope, watching his fleet prepare for departure. The collective thought they could harvest the galaxy piece by piece, he mused. Instead, they gave us something they never intended: unity. Dr. Chen, preparing to join the diplomatic mission, made one final visit to the Titan ruins. In the crystalline chamber where it had all begun, she activated a new archive crystal, recording humanity's story for future generations. "We faced extinction." She spoke into the quantum recorder, "but we didn't just survive. We proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our spirit, our unwavering determination to protect not just ourselves, but all who need help." As the diplomatic fleet jumped to quantum space, carrying hope to distant worlds, the light of Earth's sun reflected off their hulls. Humanity had entered a new era. They had faced the darkness of space and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The Nexus Collective had sought to harvest civilizations. Instead, they had forged something unprecedented: an alliance of survivors, led by the species that had dared to fight back. The galaxy would never be the same. And in the quantum network that now spanned dozens of systems, echoing with messages of friendship and cooperation, the spirit of Commander Rivera lived on. Her sacrifice had not just saved Earth, it had helped create a future where no civilization would ever face extinction alone again. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, illuminating the path forward for humanity and their new allies. The age of harvest was over. The age of unity had begun.